Morning. I got something on my mind, and I have for a couple of days now. Just haven't been feeling the recording process, but now I am. So a couple of days ago, I saw this thing on one of my feeds. Some young dude out there, around my age, maybe a little bit younger. He was doing this thing where he was streaming himself in public, and his whole thing was he was going up to strictly just black people, and he's a white guy for reference. He just wanted to go out and yell a bunch of slurs at black people in hopes that someone would get mad enough to attack him, swing on him first. And it was this guy's idea that whenever that happens, he was gonna pull out his gun and kill him. That's no interpretation. That's not jumping to conclusions or anything. That is what he set out to do, and we know this because he eventually did get arrested. Thankfully, no one had to die or get hurt. And it turns out on his Twitter or his X, whatever, that's what he was tweeting about. And he was like, I am doing this to hopefully do this. No interpretation required. It's bad and abhorrent and terrible and every other word. That's pure evil, dude. And I don't normally, seek out or engage with these kinds of ragey stories. I almost don't even want to be talking about it here, which is part of why this video stayed in my head for a long time. But I do think that there's kind of an important lesson. And it goes back to basics in a lot of ways. Something that you learn in kindergarten when you're first learning the foundational elements of being nice to people and loving others and that kind of thing. And it's the good old adage of, if you have nothing nice to say nothing at all. Now, this is not directed at the guy that was going out and streaming himself doing all these terrible things. I mean, it is, but it's also you can't appeal to someone's kindness when they have no kindness in their heart, If you're the kind of person that's going out there and doing these kinds of things, something is really genuinely wrong with you. And I believe in the power of rehabilitation, but for someone like this, it's months to years. There's nothing you can do in a moment that's gonna convince someone not to do these terrible things in the act. But to everyone on the receiving end of what he was doing, there's something to be said for if you got nothing nice to say nothing at all. And I know that's way easier said than done, especially coming from me. I got no idea what it's like to be black. I got no idea what it's like to go through years and years and generations of prejudice. So I'm open to what I'm saying being bullshit. I know people are sick and tired, but think about this from a large scale kind of thing. So this guy he was in some kind of downtown area, so there are a lot of people around, and he's just confronting people for no reason. And people obviously are going to engage back. If you get called any kind of slur, you're going to be like, what the hell, man? What are you doing? Fuck you. It's human nature. You can't blame people for firing back. But what if he tried going up to people and the people just completely ignored him, just gave him nothing in return? How long is that guy going to last before he's just and then he just, pisses off to some other poor group of folks, and then they do that too. They don't give him anything in return. How long do you last when you realize oh well, this isn't working, I guess I'll pack it in? I bet it wouldn't take that long. I bet it would take under an hour, because all your little minions that are watching in your chat, they're gonna be like, well, this is boring, I'm gonna go prompt something from ChatGPT. See ya. I also think back to when I was in college, and there would occasionally be people that would go to the campus square, and they would do the thing where God hates and they would have their signs up and just yelling to yell. And then of course, a lot of students that were passing by, they would engage with it, they would yell back. And one thing that sticks out to me with that is that there were these kind of hippie looking, very granola types. And they were doing things like burning incense and just trying to, trying to put their own version of love out there the only way they knew how, to try to diffuse things and prevent people from just getting mad at essentially nothing. Good for them. And for some reason, something that sticks with me is every time someone would yell, one of those guys would, he had a sign, and he would stand right in front of them and just hold it up and just not say anything, just hold the sign up. And the sign said, "Love is silent." And I thought that was interesting. Well, that's not true, actually. At the time, I thought that was silly and weird, and I was, I had some bitterness back in the day, so at the time, I was like, what are you talking about? Love is silent. But now I kind of get it. Because sometimes the best thing that you can do for a situation is nothing. Is literally nothing at all. I think in a lot of instances, words can be ammunition. And they can be healing, my love language is I'm big on words of affirmation, so I think that's true, man. If someone is just firing off a bunch of hate, it's tempting to engage and be like, why do you think that way? Just trying to get to the bottom of it all. I think that can work with friends and family, and dare I say even acquaintances. But you have to know the person, you have to know that them being mean or hateful, whatever, is kind of like not a part of their usual character. But with a stranger, you got no idea. They could be having a bad day, or they could just be like this. And I think it's best to assume, especially if you're doing something so outlandish, like going out in public for the sole purpose of just to yell at people and sow discourse and that kind of thing. Stranger to stranger, that person is pretty much a lost cause. They aren't one zoomed out of that, but in that moment, they're just a lost cause. And so what's the best thing to do? Just keep it stepping. And this is applicable to so many things. I think in one of my other videos I've discussed that I'm a bit of a recovering road rager, and taking the silent route is really hard. But it's the quickest and easiest way to diffuse and disarm anyone in any situation. And more than that, it also protects your own peace. I know that sounds kind of hokey, but it is true, man. If you don't do anything, if you don't engage with something bad, you're protecting your own peace. There would be times when I was road rage, and I would just get mad over the stupidest little things, and it wouldn't ruin my day, but it would ruin the next hour, and that's not fair to me. That's not fair to you, to let yourself get all mad. Just tell yourself whatever you gotta tell yourself. Maybe they're this, maybe they're that. And God, this is such a hard thing to figure out too, and I'm still figuring it out for myself, but I find myself lately approaching that kind of thing with pity. Like, man, you're so mad that you come out here and you do this? Like, what tragedy is occurring in your daily life that makes you feel like you want to or need to or have to do this? That sucks. And that goes back to the old adage of hurt people hurt people. So, the world is just... I know that you know that the world is just crazy right now. We're more divided than ever. There's more hatred from certain groups to certain groups more than ever. And it sucks. But there's a lot of ways to fight it. There's a lot of ways to, get ourselves back on track. And sometimes that's nothing. That's about everything I wanted to say. Thank you for watching. I love you.